Nano machine. Bai, Anhongweolya. Chapter 308. Dead Man Tells No Tales. Part 1. The man quickly analyzed the situation. One superior master-level warrior had gone out of the ship to take the baby. This was actually a good sign. That man is a supreme master-level warrior, but if the man, who was superior master-level warrior, fought him along with over 300 pirates, maybe he had a chance. There were more than enough of them here. It's enough if I can have pirates hold him down. He didn't think about killing his enemy. If the pirates could hold the man down long enough so that he could escape, that would give him time to return and let people know the existence of this monster. And when he thought through his plan, he quickly moved to take action. He sent one of the leaders among the pirates a telepathic message. Ben, what are you doing? But, are you going to stand there and watch? Your captain is dead. We are against strong enemies, but they are only 3. We outnumber them by 300 people. I know, but we can't. It wasn't only Ben, all pirates were terrified by Chun Yowen's monstrous power. The man urged more strongly. Will you not uphold the oath that your captain made with our brotherhood? I know about the oath, but how can we even fight that monster? The man became frustrated. He wanted to use pirates to stop him, but he didn't realize they would be too frightened. Even if they were pirates from the forces of evil who did not care about anything, it did not mean they did not know fear the impossible. It's just one man. You're warriors from the 18 River family and you just. It was then. Powerful energy came upon him and the man threw his body backward. Blue force chi shoot past him. His head would have been cut off if he didn't dodge it. Arg. Ugh. But with him dodging it, over tens of pirates behind him had their necks and chests cut through. Blood poured out from their bodies, covering the entire ship. Ugh. And in a slight second, Chun Yowen was already standing upon the man. The man spun his body left and brought up his blade to cover and Yowen struck it down. Ugh. He blocked it with the blade, but his body came crashing down on the ship's wooden floor. The floor was destroyed halfway with his body being stuck in there. What is this power? He expected a powerful blow as the enemy was much stronger than him, but it was hard to even just defend it. He was able to hold on to the blade, but his hand became numb. You think I will give you time to play tricks? And with that, the man became shocked. I knew it. He can hear telepathic messages. The man sent a telepathic message to pirates to make them attack Yowen, but he did it partially to see if Yowen could actually hear it. He thought if Yowen did hear telepathic message, it was likely that he would make a move to stop him. I have to escape. The man gave up on pushing the white dragon blade away from him. He then focused energy toward his back to utilize the power that Yowen was using to hold him down. The man's body penetrated through the ship floor and dropped. His plan was to give up on fighting and escape by dropping below. He won't chase me while leaving the godly doctor's granddaughter behind with all these pirates. As he dropped through below, he twisted to create blade force chi and destroy the floor below. But his body suddenly stopped in the air. Yowen had used force energy to stop him in the air. Ugh. You are a fool, trying to hold me by force energy. Force energy only worked on another man if the man was below superior master level warrior. A superior master level warrior can control their own chi completely, so it was easy for them to block enemies' energy coming into the body. Ha! The man unleashed his energy to free himself from the force energy. But he became shocked from what he saw. In that slight moment while he was in the air, Yowen was already on the ship's floor below him. WN? Damn it. He then quickly used the blade formation while he fell. It was a powerful formation, worthy of a superior master-level warrior. His blade formation quickly attacked. Yowen. This is your mistake for taking lower ground. He was surprised, but he still had the higher ground. But Yowen didn't seem to be worried. Mistake? We will see about that. And with that, Yowen's white dragon blade unleashed powerful blade chi and stormed toward the man. It was one of the extreme arts of the blade god. What? How can this be? My power that strikes down should be stronger. The man's blade formation was easily countered by the storming blade formation that shoot up. But the storm didn't end there. Blade force chi that destroyed the man's attack quickly stormed around him, trying to rip his body apart. Blade force chi is surrounding me. On top of the ship, pirates were looking toward the hole with a tense look. The sound was sure that they seemed to be fighting. Soon, it turned quiet. Is it over? At moment, the man penetrated through the floor of the deck, and Yowen's body stormed up while he swung white dragon blade, like a rising dragon. Aorarg. The man's body was being slashed by force chi. It didn't cut him entirely off, but his skin was ripped apart and cut down, making it gruesome. The man even thought it might be better to die. I can't let you die yet. Chapter 309. Dead Man Tells No Tales. Part 2. Johan quickly withdrew his hand and the storm disappeared, cutting both of the man's arms below the elbows. Arg! The man fell to the deck. His skin was ripped and forearms were cut, so the man kept screaming in pain. Johan walked up to him. Your hat is destroyed, but I still can't recognize your face. Well, it doesn't matter. Johan placed his hand below the man's stomach. The man flinched and shouted. Arg. What are you doing? I am doing this. Arg. Johan immediately destroyed the man's internal energy. With extreme pain coming from all his wounds, the man passed out. Johan then sealed his blood points and threw his body with force energy toward Hubong and Baki. Hubong, make sure he doesn't die. Yes, master. Johan then turned toward pirates. It's your turn now. Chun Johan never left any potential dangers behind, even if the enemy was weak. Hayek. The pirates were all terrified by what they just witnessed. And monster. They began running to all sides frantically. Run. Jump into the water. They didn't care if they outnumbered their enemy. They didn't care the river water was too fast for them to swim. They just had to get away from the monster. But, who said you can go? Johan gestured of picking something up by his two hands, and the weapons that the pirates dropped while running away immediately rose up in the air. There were about 60 weapons. Johan ordered to Nano. Nano, self-targeting mode. Nano's voice rang through his head. Activating self-targeting mode on 63 weapons. Locking onto targets. Johan saw tiny red circles appearing over the pirates who were running away in all directions. Over 60 weapons shot up and circled around the ship, aiming outward. The pirates all became shocked to see weapons floating in the air and stopped. They became terrified to see the weapons aimed at them. Oh, look at that. That's too much. The pirates were too afraid to even move. They had many experiences as martial artists of Yulin, but they never heard or saw such terrifying skills. Johan then flicked his finger, initiating the attack. A total of 63 weapons began to move. This was a spectacular sight of countless weapons moving through air to kill their target. Run. I don't want to die. The ship became mess. It was like a battlefield where all pirates trying to run, and some were trying to defend themselves against impending doom. But the result of the battle was a massacre. With weapons stopping them from jumping off the ship, the deck turned into a bloodbath. Arg. Ugh. Tens of pirates were killed by the weapons moving on their own. The technique easily killed top-level masters even by using rusted swords from Sword Creek, so the effect increased when it was used with normal weapons against weaker enemies. Why you devil? Some of the pirates shouted angrily at Johan, who was observing them coldly while the massacre took place. He was looking at them as if all of this was normal. I have to get away. All ships were interconnected with chains, so they couldn't even run. That's when one of leaders came up with an idea. Hey, destroy the chain. They already saw the air sword losing control when it became far away. The river flow was quick, so it was going to send them away from the ship faster. I can't save everyone. Let's cut the ties and get away while we can. Over 30% of all the pirates had died already. It was a matter of time before all of them were wiped out. Quick! Destroy the chains. Pirates who ran into another ship banged on the chains to break through. But then some of air swords that were massacring the pirates flew up and destroyed the chains for them. What? Why? There was no way that Chun Yoan would let them go. It was hard to understand, but they soon learned why. Some of the air swords then changed direction and penetrated through the bottom of the other ships, making large holes. The ship began to sink. The ship sinking. Damn it. He was after the ship. Yoan was destroying all other ships except the one that he was on. The sinking was slow, however, so the pirates who tried to destroy the chain to get away became pale. Their last chance of escaping was gone. Pull up the anchor. They at least hoped that the river torrent would push them away. But the ship was already sinking, so it didn't move as they hoped it would. It's not working. The ship isn't. Ugh. The pirate who tried to move the ship died with a sword penetrating through him. Dago. The leader pirate who ordered to destroy the chain screamed his name with despair. He then slumped down and glanced over at Yoan. That man is a devil. It seemed he was trying to kill everyone above the ship. The screaming heard throughout the ship was like the song Yoan was making as he moved his arms. Arg. Ugh. And pirates finally realized while they were dying that the worst disaster had hit their ships. Chapter 310. Dead Man Tells No Tales. Part 3. NNNGH. Gam Mayan, whose blood points were sealed, moaned as she couldn't scream. Her eyes turned red from tears as she saw hundreds of pirates being massacred. Her movements and voice were sealed, but it didn't stop the tears dropping from her eyes. Baki then silently turned her around, as he thought she was probably too sad to see such a cruel sight, even if these enemies were pirates. But her eyes were actually that of a person who was actually truly sad, as if she was mourning for them. She looked like she wanted to say something. "This will be over soon. We will have your baby here too." Baki spoke, but she glared back at him furiously. NNGH. It seemed she wanted to say something. But even with the baby hostage, the woman set traps before, so Baki thought he had to be safe and ignored her. Hubong glanced at her and sent a telepathic message. "You know, I didn't want to think it this way, but she seems really angry at us, as if she doesn't want to be rescued. Don't you think?" Baki did not respond to Hubong's uncomfortable look. At the same time, 4th Elder Yang Danwa quickly killed the pirates on the watchtower and infiltrated the half-dismantled shack. There weren't much people around as most of warriors were already on the ship. The only ones left are the women and children. It seemed like all the warriors who could fight were on the ship, with only a few pirates left behind to stand watch. Ugh. Yang Danwa went up to another pirate on watch and snapped his neck. He then quietly hid the body in the corner. 9. Yang Danwa silently killed all pirates that were on watch. There was no need to kill them all as their identities were not revealed, but there was no need to leave any potential dangers behind. And the women inside shacks? He decided to leave them behind. There was no way those people who hid inside shacks knew what had happened. Even the man with bamboo hat thought Yoan and his group were from the Blade God's 6 Martial clan. Is that it? Yang Danwa quickly found the captain's shack. It was one of the largest and most lavishly decorated shacks, so it was noticeable. The large tiger pelt covering it was a dead giveaway. I sensed 2 inside. Yang Danwa carefully walked over and heard the sound of breathing and footsteps walking across the room. He opened the shack and walked in. The middle-aged woman who was gently caressing baby became shocked and tried to scream. Kai? Yang Danwa quickly sealed her blood points to make her pass out and snatched the baby before it fell to the ground. The baby tried to cry, so he pressed on the blood point so the baby would fall asleep. Yang Danwa then looked down bitterly at the woman. It was an ordinary woman who had not learned any martial arts, but there was no choice as she had seen Yang Danwa's face. He then snapped her neck without hesitation and left the shack. Yang Danwa quickly stepped through and returned to the riverbed near the ships. Yang Danwa bichama astonished. The fight had yet to start when he left, but there was no sight of the 5 other ships that were connected to it. Even the large ship that was loading cargo was now sinking beneath the river. He killed everyone in this short amount of time. It was possible for Yoan's monstrous power. The level of Supreme Master Warrior was enough to be considered one of the top 5 warriors of Yulin. But the speed was still too fast. Did he use that technique from before? Yang Danwa still had the sight lingering on his head, where hundreds of swords had massacred the pirates. It was a technique that no powerful warrior Yang Danwa had ever seen before. It was enough to even make him become afraid. Elderiang. This way. He then heard Hubong's telepathic message and turned toward the direction. Hubong was waving at him around the hill toward the mountain. And as he ran up there, he found Yoan's group waiting for him behind bushes. "I did as you ordered. Good work." Yoan nodded after checking the baby. Yang Danwa then glanced to see Baki hanging a man drenched in blood on by the tree. By looking at him with 2 of forearms missing, it was easy to see who had done it. The Lord did it again. It seemed like anyone who came across Chun Yoan as an enemy would lose an arm or 2. Yang Danwa then remembered that more than half of princes had lost their arms in the competition. This gave him chills. Huh? He then realized Gam Mayan was a bit strange. She couldn't move with her blood points sealed, but she was crying and she shook. "Lieutenant Hu, what is up with her?" "I'm not sure. We didn't set her free as it doesn't look right, but she's been like that ever since. She's looking at us as if we are the bad guys." Yang Danwa bichama confuset. He then thought maybe she was worried because she didn't see the baby yet, so he took the baby and showed it to her. "We have your baby here." Gam Mayan's eyes then turned to relief as she looked at the baby. Yoan then let them free her to speak. She was unstable up until a while ago, but she now had seen the baby, so he figured she would be fine. But when they freed Gam Mayan, she began to scream. The noise even woke up the man who passed out. The man slightly opened his eyes to check the situation and realized he was kept alive. What should I do? He then pretended to stay passed out by closing his eyes. He couldn't run away as he was tied by rope anyway. NNNGH. Yang Danwa grabbed hermod. He thought about putting Seal back so she'd be silent, but he then became curious and asked, "What are you doing?" She then glared back at Yang Danwa as if she wanted to say something. "If you scream again, I will make you silent again." Her eyes rolled up and down, nodding. Yang Danwa then let go of her mouth and Gam Mayan spoke with rage. "Ha, ha, you just let my husband drown underwater. Do you think I will be grateful for that?" "Your husband?" Yang Danwa, Baki and Hubong all frowned at that. They couldn't understand what she was saying. Yang Danwa then asked her, "Are you talking about that first mate?" "Yes. You all heard that he was my husband and you just let him die anyway." Surprisingly, Gam Mayan thought the dead first mate was actually her husband. Baki then became dumbfounded about Gam Mayan's tears back on the ship. So, she cried because she really was sad for them? He thought she cried only because she was afraid to see such a cruel sight. The reason why she passed out when the ship sank was because her husband, the first mate, sank along with the ship. She then glared at Yoan and spoke. "And our warriors, how could you kill them in such cruel ways? Just because you have powers, you can't kill people like if they are animals. You devil." Devil. Chapter 311. Dead Man Tells No Tales. Part 4. She seemed to be furious beyond reason. Most people would be too afraid to even speak to Chun Yoan after seeing what he had done, but she didn't seem to care. Is she really mad? Hubong became dumbfounded while Yoan narrowed his eyes. Gam Mayan's reaction was beyond logical explanation, so even Yoan became curious. Hing Wenja clearly said under the truth serum that the godly doctor's granddaughter had been kidnapped. Why is she siding with those pirates when she was kidnapped? That's when Nano answered his thoughts. This seems to match the case of Stockholm Syndrome. Stockholm Syndrome. It is a symptom where one finds sympathy with the aggressor in a mental and spiritual way. If it becomes excessive, it sometimes evolves into the feeling of affection such as love. What? I didn't even imagine such a thing would exist. It was still hard to believe even after hearing it. But for the man who was tied on the tree, he was actually entertained by what was happening. He knew the state of Gam Mayan already because this was reported multiple times. So, it was true that the granddaughter of the godly doctor became very close with the first mate of the Yongo family, haha. This was actually why Gam Mayan helped the man set up traps. She didn't help just because she had to save her baby. For her, the Yongo family was actually her family and friends. A year in captivity had changed her very drastically. There were sacrifices, but this seems to be good. She will not try to help them. Was it going as the man expected? Gam Mayan glared at Yoan and the others with vengeful eyes. You came because my grandmother asked you to? Then I'm sure you're after my grandmother to make her treat someone. Isn't that it? Isn't that what you came here for? Gam Mayan was smart. She wasn't all correct with her guesses, but it still was similar. Of course, the only thing was that her grandmother promised to serve the lord of demonic cult in return. Calm down. We are here because your grandmother really wanted to rescue you. We heard you were kidnapped and that captain threatened us with the baby. How would we know that you became friends with them? Yang Danwa spoke to solve the issue, but there was no way the woman would change her mind when she thought she had lost everything. Gam Mayan shouted, "Bah! Nonsense! Even if that's true, you still killed my people. You won't get anything from me." That wasn't our intention. I told you we didn't know. Is it fine because you didn't know? Let me tell you clearly. I will not help you get whatever you are trying to get. What? What are you talking about? Hubong, who had been looking at her dumbfoundedly, frowned and asked. Gam Mayan then shouted as if she was cursing all of them. I will not go to my grandmother. If you take me by force, I will tell her that she must not help any of you. I will do whatever it takes to do that. You will feel my pain when you lose your loved one that you are trying to save. She declared that she would get in the way by using all she had. She was being ungrateful of being saved. This was not expected at all. Ha ha ha. This is interesting. You have the granddaughter, but she will not comply. She will just be a nuisance to your plan. You all will not get anything. The man became excited while he was pretending to still be asleep. It looked like Yoan's group was going to have a hard time as they now had to find a way to bring this nuisance back. They had to take her, but she was going to be far from help. You are paying the price for making me like this. And that's when he heard Hubong speak. What a shame. You think we are some weaklings from the forces of justice? And you'll regret when you realize what our Lord will choose to do. Lord? Gam Mayan's eyes became large from Hubong's swords. The man also became shocked. There was only one who was addressed as a lord in the entire Yulin. Lord, wait. Is that? Chen Yuan then looked down at Gammayan coldly and spoke. Do you think you are the only one who feels the pain of losing loved ones? That's. I don't care if you loved those who kidnapped you, nor do I care if you are sad because they died. Gammayan was at a loss for words. This wasn't the reaction she anticipated. And you said you will get in our way no matter what it takes. Oh, of course. You killed my husband, so I. But she couldn't continue, as all of the people looking at her looked cold and emotionless. Yuan shook his head. We will take you back no matter what you say. Gammayan then narrowed her eyes. Ha, that won't be any use. I will tell grandmother to, you won't. What? Of course I will tell her, you won't, if you are dead. Gammayan became shocked. The man who was pretending to be passed out also became shocked. Elder Yang, what do you say? Well, it is common for hostages to die in huge fights. We'd be lucky to even find the remains. The godly doctor will be sad, but we have no choice. Gammayan became grim at Yang Danwa's words. Their way of thinking and the action these people took was different from normal people or people from the forces of justice. Wait, are you going to kill me? Are you out of your mind? You are here to save me. I saved you because you had a use. A use? You are no use if you are not the granddaughter of the godly doctor. But you just threw away your only value. What? People usually changed their thoughts when their lives were in danger. Her senses that didn't work while in fury now returned. But it was too late. Yuan talked to her in low voice, as if he was whispering. It's fortunate that your baby is asleep. Gammayan then became pale at the voice. Why you dev? But Yuan swung his hand before she could finish, and her neck turned around because of the powerful force of energy. Ugh. And with a gasp, Gammayan's neckbone was destroyed and died. She was angered, but she paid the price of not choosing someone to mess with wisely by death. What? The man became shocked. These people are mad. They really killed her. He didn't imagine that they would kill the granddaughter, the only possible piece that would make godly doctor work without hesitation, even in front of a baby. That's when he heard someone walking over to him. The man who came up to him grabbed his neck. He opened his eyes and saw Yuan looking at him. Do you think I wouldn't know you were pretending to sleep? The man became shocked. There was no way Yuan would not notice the different breathing patterns after the man woke up. Now, it's your turn.